Hello there, kids. Today we are going to learn how to change words into numbers. To start with, as a beginner, you have to start with the lower place value, which is in this case, let us take the tens and the ones at the same time. Treating them like best friends, it says here we have 36. How do you write 36? That's just 3 and 6 together. And knowing that 3 falls under the hundreds place, all you have to do is just to write 3 here. So that's equivalent to 336. So that's how you write 336 into a number. Okay, another example, 298. Then again, as a starter, it's better if we start off with the lower place value, which is the tens and ones together. Treating them as best friends, we have 98. How do you write 98? That's just 9 and 8 together. And we have 2 here, which falls under the hundreds family, which means all you have to do is just to write 2 here. And that's how you write 298 to numbers. 400. How do you write 400 into numbers? If you can notice that you don't have any units for your ones and tens, they are missing. And since we're talking about the tens and the ones place value, occupying two place values, all you have to do is to write two zeros, that's 1, 2. And 4 falls under the hundreds place. So all we have to do is just to write 4 here. And that's how you write 400. So as you can see, we have 560. How do you write 560 into numbers? So as a starter, we have to begin with the lowest place value given, which is in this case is 60, occupying both tens and ones place. How do you write 60 down? It's just 6 and 0. Since you don't have your ones place, that's why we end up writing 0 for our ones place. And knowing that 5 falls under the hundreds place value rather, all we have to do is just to write 5 here. And that's how you write 560. As you can see, we have 802. If you notice, we have 2 here, which falls under the ones place. And we don't have any tens value, which is in this case, we can write it or occupy 0 in that place. And we still notice that we have 8 that falls under the hundreds value, place value rather. So all you have to do is just to write 8 there, and that is how you write 802. If you are a grade 2, you can stop the video here. Okay, for your grade 3 and above, to continue learning, if you can see, we have 3,287. If you notice that we now have an additional place value here, which is the 1,000. In other words, we now have a thousands family, aside from our basic units family. Okay? In this case, I want you to learn how to write a number properly. And that is by simply starting at the biggest given place value. If you notice, we have 3,000. Since it's just 1,000, so we have 3, comma, 287. 2 falls under the hundreds place value, which we will just simply write 2 here. And what remains is the value of 87. So which means all you have to do here is just to write 87. That gives us the answer. So as you can see, we now have 6,204. So we have the thousands place, which is 6. And since we don't have any parts of the thousands, we can now safely put a comma after that. And you also have the hundreds place, which is 2. And what's left is just 4. So if you notice, we don't have a tens in this case, which means all you have to do is just to write a 0 and then add the 4. So if you notice here, we now have a thousands family, but we don't have the unit for hundreds. So which means it is now safe for us to write 1 here and a comma. We don't have any units for the hundreds, which means we can write 0 here. And if you notice, we now have 80. So all you have to do is just to write 80 there. And that's 8 and 0, which makes it 80. If you're in grade 3, you can stop here. But if you want to learn more, continue watching. Okay, now we have 37,294. So if you notice now for the thousands family, we now have 37, which means all you have to do is just to write 37 there, then a comma to mark the territory for the thousands place, the territory between the thousands and the basic units, to mark the territory of the thousands family and the basic units family. And what's left is 294. So we have the units of hundreds here, which is equivalent to 2, and our best friends, 94. 9 and 4. 94. So this is how you write 37,294. So if you notice, for the thousands place, you have 96. How do you write 96? So that's 9 and 6. And since it belongs to the thousands place, we can now safely write a comma separating the territory of the thousands family and the basic units family. After that, we now have 300. For the units of 100, we have 3. And if you notice, we only have the ones value, which is 3. We don't have the value for ones, which means in this case, our tens is equivalent to 0. And all you have to do is just to write 3 here. So that's 96,303. And if you notice, we now have 71 for our 1,000. So basically writing 7 and 1 here, marking the territory again using the comma. And 92. If you notice, we don't see anything. We don't see any hundreds here, which means our unit for hundreds is 0. And writing the best friends here, which is equivalent to 92, all you have to do is just to write 9 and 2 for 92. So this is how you write 71,092. If you're a grade 4, you can stop here. Okay, for the grade 5, we have 3,822,784. And if you notice, in this case, we have the millions family, the thousands family, and of course, the basic units family. So in this case, let's start with writing the smallest place value first, just for us not to get confused. Okay, let's start with the smallest given place value, which is the tens and the ones as best friends, as that is how we write as a beginner. We have 84, and for the hundreds place, we have 7. So since we already have the thousands there, we can now put the comma, which separates a territory, like what I've mentioned earlier. And writing the given value, we have 822,000. How do you write 822? We have 22 and we have 8. So that's 822,000. And for the million, we have 3, which will now be separated by a comma again. 3. So this is basically how you write 3,822,784. Okay, in this case, we have 5,826,952. We are going to start writing from the millions. Earlier, we started with the lowest place value. Now, let's try writing it how you're supposed to write it, which is starting from the biggest place value given, which is in this case is million. Okay, 5 million. Since that's the only number in the millions place, we can now separate it with a comma. 826,000. How do you write 826? So that's basically 826,000. Since it's in the thousands place, we can add a comma there again. And 952. 9 falls under the hundreds place, which is 9 here. And 52, which is written as 5 and 2. So that's 5,826,952. So that's basically how you write it into numbers. Another example. So if you notice here, we have 4,098. Okay, 4,098. If you notice, we don't have the thousands family, but we have the millions family. And for the basic units family, we don't have the hundreds value. We only have 98, which means we have lots of zeros here in terms of value. So for our million, we have 4. No units for the thousands place, which means we have 1, 2, 3 zeros, separating the comma. And for the hundreds place, again, for our basic units family, we have no value, which is also equivalent to 0. And we have 98, which is equivalent to 9 and 8. So that's now read as 4,098. Another example. Okay, so in this case, we have 2,904,160. Then again, that's 2,904,160. So if you notice, we now then again have the millions family, the thousand family, and for the basic units, we have the 100. But we don't have any value for our ones as we only have the value of 60. So writing it again, we have 2 million, comma, 904. 904. So if you notice, that's just 900. No units of tens in the thousands place. So that's equivalent to 0. And a unit of 4 for the thousands place. Separating the comma. We have the unit of 1 in the hundreds place. And 60. How do you write 60? That's just 6 and 0. So 2,904,160. So that's basically